How to put English on the basketball.
Hello and welcome to episode 27 of With the English podcast with myself, Glenn, and my counterpart, Sam, as usual. This week we have two special guests in Geraint and Gary from Let's Talk Magic. Lads, how are you?
Thank you for having us, Glenn. Honoured to be asked to come on the pod. Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks for the invite. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, thanks for giving us your time, to be honest, and good timing because we've just started the playoffs and the Magic have returned to the playoffs. How did you find game one?
Well, obviously, like you said, it's great to be back in the playoffs. It does feel like we're playing with house money at the moment. We're a bit ahead of schedule where we expected to be. 2 years ago we won 23 games, last year 35, and having a big jump this year, ending up fifth in the Eastern Conference, is testament to the job the team and Coach Mosely's doing. So first game didn't go to plan, but you've got to kind of expect that with a team of this age, inexperienced in the postseason. The fourth youngest team in the whole association, behind San Antonio, Oklahoma, and Portland. So it's not a bad position to be in. We obviously had a decent performance out of our star in Paulo Banchero. Franz Wagner got some of his. I'm sure we can discuss a bit more of game one in a bit more detail, where it went wrong if you want. But yeah, that's what my take was. What do you think, Gar?
I think we saw enough to have hope from game one, because defensively, after a fast start where everything I think that was thrown up by Cleveland went in from three, we kind of got to grips with them. And defensively, we played our game. I think from the second quarter onwards, we just couldn't get a shot to fall. Offensively, obviously, Paulo did all right. Franz came into the game, then went out of the game, and then came back in. But if we were going to win one of the two games, I would rather win game two anyway and take the momentum back to Orlando. So defensively, we can do our business. We've just got to do better on the offensive end than we did the other night. And I don't want to jinx it, but it's going to be really, really hard to shoot that badly again.
Yeah, I think it's telling that you like I say, you guys are inexperienced, just as a team being young, but to just settle into playoff basketball when they haven't really experienced that before. I said to Yuji, didn't I, by message, that sort of caught, a rabbit in headlights. And I think the irony is, you're probably in Cleveland's position that they were in last year. And I think, if you remember rightly, Jared Allen basically said the lights were too bright for us. And I think game one for you guys, I think you did okay. But maybe it's going to take a while to settle into the series.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I mean, your stars, Banchero and Wagner, they got theirs. Unfortunately for us, is our guard play that let us down. Between our starting backcourt, Gary Harris didn't make a shot. Markel Fultz didn't hit one, unfortunately for me. And Cole Anthony, 0 for 17 from those guards, including 0 of 9 from three. So you're shooting, 32% as a team. And I think it was the second and third quarter. I think we scored 17 and 16 respectively. So, you put yourself in a hole like that, it's going to be very difficult to jump back out of it. Defense was okay. So if you're looking at what we need to improve on, it certainly was the rebounding, just shooting the ball better.
I think if you'd said it before the game, Cleveland won't score 100 points. If you'd given us that, they won't score 100, you would have fancied a chance at a win, which tells that story.
Yeah, you've always got a chance you're right. You've always got a chance when you keep a team under 100, but I really can't see you having another bad shooting night like that.
No, I agree.
Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, Cole Anthony, when he played against us, I don't know if it's just the Sixers, they always seem to have a guard that can come off the bench and do a bit against us. But a couple of times I've seen him against us when he's come off and done quite well off the bench. I can't imagine him being that poor again in game two, to be honest with you. I know it was very limited minutes, but I can't imagine that again.
We've seen Cole be a little bit hot and cold, haven't we, Guy? He's Gary's favourite player, so we have a bit of a laugh and a joke on our podcast. I'm a big Markel Fultz guy.
It's always role players. When me and Sam say it's always role players that you fall in love with.
Yeah. I mean, the stars are always there, kind of thing, aren't they? So you go for your unsung heroes. But Cole's, he's had a up and down season. He can be really, really good where, he wants the ball, doesn't miss, to having a game like he did on Saturday, unfortunately. So hopefully, we see a better performance out of Cole and the other role players just to back up the stars tonight.
Obviously, you'll know Cole Anthony better than us, but I feel like he's got the right temperament to forget about game one and, fresh start tonight. I don't think hurt him mentally.
He's been in a funny place, Cole, because he had a bit of an injury, and he said about, like, he alluded to things going off the court when he had like a real big slump. I want to say around about just leading up to the All-Star game, real big slump. I would say probably late December onwards, and then he's kind of been very hit and miss since then. And he can be a streaky player. Like, Cole at his best could come into a game and take the game away from your team, because he could just go on a scoring tear like a microwave scorer. Streaky, but by the same token, totally streaky. But then when things are bad, like we saw the other night, you might not get a great deal. And it's not from the lack of effort. It's the same with Markel Fultz. It's not from the lack of effort, but in Cole's case, as you said, it's pure streakiness. But he hasn't been quite the same for me since he alluded to things going on off the court, and he's been better in recent weeks leading in, but we just got to hope that we get hot Cole tonight.
Do you think the rotation needs to tighten up, or you think Mosely's right to go 10-man rotation for the time being?
I think he needs to tighten rotation up. Yeah, as you pointed out, it's 10 men last game, and I think was it Charles Barkley or Shaq? One of them said on TNT that it looked like Indiana and Orlando in the first game of the playoffs. We're playing game 57 of the regular season, whereas maybe we need to play the better players a lot longer. You're going to get a bit of fatigue, but it's a learning curve. End of the day, so just get them the experience. I mean, even if we go out in the first round this season, we're ahead of schedule, and it's all about the development of these players. They're all very, very young, and what these playoffs are going to show is what the Magic actually need going forward. Who are the deadwood? Where we need to improve? Is it at center? Is it at point guard? Is it off the bench? We know the core blocks and who they are. So it's just a matter of, identifying what we need going forward. We're not going to win a championship this season, unfortunately.
Whoa. Come on. It's been negative. Do you think the poor shooting made Mosely go into that 10-man rotation? I'm just looking at, the starters. Like you mentioned, Gary Harris, obviously, Suggs there, 13 points. Do you reckon it forced his hand a little bit?
I saw a quote on Twitter from one of the popular Magic tweeters, shall we say, and he said if Gary Harris had been the shooter, Tupac would still be alive. So that's all the torn story on Gary Harris. I think there was him trying to find a little bit, but I also think with the Magic, there's always watching the minutes of Jonathan Isaac. So I think whereas we went into a 10-man rotation, but I think he does manage those minutes and pick his moments for him to play. And it had only been up till the last game of the season where you would have said GI was off the bench. And then it was when it really mattered. Because Wendell, Mikey, who's listening, might not like this, but Wendell's been poor this season for the Magic. And game 82, when it was like win or go home, Jonathan Isaac's in the starting lineup. And I think he's trying to find ways where he can manage Wendell Carter Jr. back to being what he was, because earlier in the season he had an injury, he didn't have a great start, and then he managed him back in to get a bit more out of him, and then he slumped again. So I think he was trying to manage Wendell, and I think he's obviously got an eye on what GI's doing, but I think he was probably trying to find a hot hand off the bench. G, you probably won't like me saying this, but I raised my eyebrows a little bit when Markel came in. not because he's not a capable player, but because he really didn't feature much in game 82 when we played against the Bucks. And I thought, wow, this is kind of a glimpse into where maybe Mosley's thinking is. But I think things were that poor and turnovers were that rife. Markel is probably our best ball handler on the team. And I think he tried to put him in to try and settle things down because we were turning the ball over. Because, as has been said, it was the lights were maybe a little bit too bright for some of the players. And I would include even the star ones. There was some shaky turnovers there within the game. And I think Markel was an attempt to try and settle it down.
Yeah, and the shooting, in fairness, all season we've struggled, haven't we, Gary? I don't think I think we're in the bottom couple for 3-point percentage. And the conversation amongst, Magic fans and Magic Twitter is that we need spacing. So a lot of people have got on Markel's back. I'll back Markel to the hills. And he's obviously in a contract year this year, so worrying times for me. But it is quite obvious. So, you put like a Trae Young in there or a Klay Thompson, someone you could target potentially in the future, then, Paulo and Franz are going to have a lot more space to do what they do very well.
Is it normal for Ingles to only shoot 2 shots?
It's normal for Ingles to look slow motion, which he was in that game. I think it was played at such a frantic pace. I think even Joe Ingles was caught up a bit in the first half, which would have impacted his shooting. But at that, he does normally slow the game down, but because of the pace it was at, it looked as though he was running in treacle. And I think with Ingles when he came on, I have seen him where he hasn't shot that much, and I have seen him where he has. But I think the game was a little bit fast for him, unfortunately.
So on that note, are you guys still confident about the series?
So we recorded our pod last week. I had Magic in 6. Did you have Cavs in 7, Gar?
I said it would go 7 games where anything could happen, but I thought experience would tip it slightly towards Cleveland.
Yeah, so I mean, like we've said, there's signs that we could potentially pull this out. We're ahead of schedule, like I said. You're going to run into a buzzsaw of the Celtics probably in the second round, although I would rather the Miami Heat win. I just had that because the Celtics are just annoying. So it's one of those. If we win tonight, absolutely we got a shot. But if we don't win tonight, it's not the end of the world. You can gather that momentum at home. You pick yourself up, win game 3. You're going to have a raucous crowd at the Kia Center. Game 4, and then all of a sudden, pressure's on Cleveland to win game 5 in their place. And if they don't win, game 5, then you can close them off at home. So, it's a series end of the day. All is not lost in one game.
No, that's 100%, and that's what I'm hoping for in my Sixers later. With that, I completely agree with Gary. Like, win game. If you're going to win one of the split at the first 2 games, you're away. Take the second one, take it into the home games, and hope that you get that potentially 3 wins in a row, and there's no home court advantage then. So yeah, I'm completely with that. I think. I love looking at it. Do you know what? If I was new to the NBA, I probably would become like a Magic fan because of how young your team is and how exciting they can be to play. And I know, like, I had a bit of banter with some of you boys, with when especially with Embiid and stuff like that in our game, when I thought we were going to leapfrog you, and then the stupid divisions come into play, which NBA is the only league where it doesn't really matter until it comes to a 3-way tie. But like, you've got such a good and exciting team. Like, there's not many players on that team that I think I dislike, as per se. Like, Suggs was a bit annoying in our game, but generally doesn't come across when I've watched you play as an annoying guy. I like Isaac. I like, everyone loves Paulo. I think most fans love watching Banchero play. Like, he is like one of the most exciting players to play. Like, Edwards gets a lot of love, and rightly so. And I'm not saying it's going to be between Edwards and someone like Banchero, but Banchero just, for me, like, it was no reason why he can't be in that top 5 conversation in a couple of years' time. Like, with that, if you build the right team around him, maybe I'm overrating him and I don't watch him every week. I just see
I don't think you are, Sam, because at the end of the day, like like G mentioned, that you're ahead of schedule, and I think Banchero's got a lot to do with that. You know, he's already shown he's your star player.
Right.
Mm, mm.
He's in a funny position, Paulo, because like we all watch from the outside, so like we see players maybe that America doesn't see because of their TV coverage. I think sometimes. So the way the TV coverage is over there, Banchero's a little bit under the radar for me. I got said the other night that he's possibly the most disrespected number one pick in years.
I'd agree. I think we mentioned on the pod a few weeks back that Magic don't get selected for national TV.
Yeah, I'm glad that somebody else has noticed.
Yeah, I think is it Cortez, the guy from he put a stat out, and I just was dumbfounded by it, because I think I said at the time, like, we watch the Premier League and you see the most awful games put on Sky Sports with irrelevant teams, mediocre teams. So I just naturally assumed that in the NBA you still get smaller market teams, whatever position they're in, picked for national TV, but that stat that's put, I couldn't believe it. So yeah, I think he is going under the radar.
Well, we picked him for All-Star selection. I think Charles Barkley, was it Charles Barkley? Only two of the crew, from memory. Maybe Ernie and Charles put him down as well as on their list as well. I think we were straight away, like I said early on to Glenn, like, this year's been an all-star, like, just been phenomenal with his play, and he's such an exciting player. So yeah, like you guys said, you're ahead of schedule, but if there's a team that if you can get through, and I know I picked the Cavs, but that was purely because I was like, I'm a betting man, I had to put money down, I'd bet on the Cavs. Who would I like to win? I'd like to see the Magic go through, because Cavs annoy me a bit. I don't really like Mitchell, even though I suppose my beef with him is probably from the Ben Simmons thing when he wore the what is a rookie Adidas shirt into the arena. But he I don't really like him and his attitudes, to be honest, like just the way he comes across. So for me, I'd like to see you win it. And then actually, if there's a team that's going to tire the Celtics out, like a young team like you could probably do that in the next round if you've got a bit of momentum, because they're going to get an easy first round because of Butler being out, unfortunately. So if you could then take them, because in the ideal world, my boys keep going and going. I don't think they will, but if they do and get to the conference, because I think the Bucks are done. I generally think it's Celtics are going to win it all, but like from the East, because there's such an easy path. I don't think the Knicks are good enough. I don't think the Sixers are good enough, and and obviously I don't think you guys are.
Sorry, what?
It hurts me to say it, but Embiid's not 100%.
No. You've changed your tune.
Because Embiid got injured again the other night.
Oh, here we go.
His knee.
Caveat.
We're playing Sam Bingo again.
Yeah, Sam.
Sam changes his mind.
He gives it big ones in the group chat and about how he keeps the receipts in that, and now he's backtracking already. Sam's mentioned about quite fond of Orlando Magic. I'm quite similar to Sam. I always see them as like a team I always look out for. One, I've actually been to Orlando a few times, and I've been to LA 0 times. And this is the part where I become a hypocrite. I actually like what Orlando are doing with their draft picks and building a team. Obviously, I picked a team where it's very much win now, and it's about star quality. But going into your future, I find it's very difficult to get draft picks right. But I feel like you're doing it well. If you look at the team that went out last night, obviously Suggs, Cole Anthony, Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner. Was Mo also a draft pick of yours?
He was from the Lakers originally. Wasn't he drafted by the Lakers?
Let go. He came as a free agent, didn't he?
Fake fan.
I think he went to the Lakers and he got traded to the Celtics. The Celtics released him. Then he was at the Wizards, I want to say.
Wizards. They came Rose, didn't he?
So he's moved about a bit.
Yeah. No, but you make a good point there. The team's drafted well since they've got the new hierarchy in. Jeff Weltman, John Hammond, who they brought in. I think one was possibly at the Raptors, one was at the Bucks, one was responsible for drafting Giannis. They really set out their stall to get a lot of length, and we saw that with the first couple of picks in Jonathan Isaac. Then he went Mo Bamba. That one didn't turn out, but they don't always turn out. But in recent
But this
years,
is what I mean, to be honest, that
Mm.
it can be so hit and miss
Yeah.
that you could have the top pick and they never reach their potential. I still
Knockout
remember
Fox.
when
don't say it.
exactly. I still remember that draft night for Banchero. I didn't think it was sort of like the last few hours. No one knew who you were going to pick.
No, they kept it very, very close to their chest, and they. Gary, in fairness, when we were all talking, it was either Jabari, Chet, or Paulo. And in fairness, Gary said from the start, Paulo, didn't you, mate?
I said, whatever we do with the number 1 pick, we don't touch Jabari with pick 1. And my logic was not that he's a bad player or bad. I actually really like him as a person on his socials and stuff and when he plays. But I was like, we're going to get like an elite 3-and-D guy at the best. We might get Rashard Lewis. That was kind of how I looked at if the things went in our favour, where I said, if we go for one of the other 2 guys, I was like, the floor looks like Julius Randle, which was for Paulo. And I said the ceiling for me at the time, I think I said Carmelo G.
Yeah,
I was like, there's a ceiling. And then I said for Chet, if everything panned out, you could even end up with Kevin Durant. And I was like, that's kind of where we're at. And I said, if you're asking me to swing, I'll swing on one of those 2 guys before I would touch Jabari Smith, because I just didn't see him having the same ceiling as Chet or Paulo. Like I love Chet Holmgren's game. I think he's brilliant. So
Yeah, me too.
I thought he fit us. So I thought we would have gone Chet because of the links to Suggs, because he was a rim runner, a shot blocker, and he had the 3-point game. And because Paulo didn't work out, but I did put money on Paulo Banchero, like not big money, but when he was about 15, 16 to 1 to go pick 1. So
nice.
That was nice.
You have to give that to G for a New Jersey, unless he paid by American Express when he was in America to swap it when they released Fultz this summer.
That'll be a sad day for you, G, won't it?
We'll be having a funeral, mate.
Black armbands on the podcast.
Not just the players, but also worth mentioning, especially after it's been announced, but you're coaching Jamal Mosely and being a fighter of the year. I think that's very well deserved as well. You mentioned the win, rate going astronomically from last year. It's well deserved.
Yeah, the jumps in the win, and he's really built a culture amongst the players. And I don't think I've seen a team so together and actually really care for one another. You see them on the sideline. You see them, when the admin on the Twitter does sort of random stuff on social media. They're all just having a good laugh. They're doing their work, etc. But there's just a real togetherness about every single one of them. It is going to be unfortunate, when times are going to become of the essence, when you decide who needs to stay and who needs to go, because it's obviously going to break up that core. But for the time being, there is a real togetherness there and a will to win together.
So what do you need to take? Go on, so go.
I was going to say that day is going to come where we've said about love for role players. The day is going to come, and me and G's had this conversation where we might lose our favourite player, but it's possible that we need to do that to build it around Paulo and probably Franz.
It's the name on the front of the jersey is the most important.
Yep.
Indeed,
so what do you think what do you need to get from that sort of 5th, 6th position? Well, not even about seeding, to be a contender in the East.
Well, obviously, we'll see how this playoff run goes, see who the contributors are. But it looks like we'll, need a scoring guard and potentially a centre. You say, Gary?
I think in an ideal world, I think right now we've got the we've said about Paulo Banchero, where he looks like a franchise player at his best. He could become a top 10 player in the league at his peak. I think questions for me are around where Franz Wagner's ceiling is, of whether he's somebody who can be an all-star or whether he's going to be the best role player in the league. Like a lot of plaudits for Aaron Gordon now, saying he's the best role player in the league, which
did you have to send him to Denver?
I think it was the blow up. If we could have got a slightly different deal back, I would have been a bit happier. But
You
yeah.
almost like completed Denver Nuggets as a team,
Yeah.
and thanks for that.
Yeah, well, we've all got our views on the package that we got back, but
What did you get back?
we got Gary Harris,
RJ Hampton, and a first round pick next year.
Oh,
So RJ Hampton's, well, I don't know where he is at the moment. Last time he was with Miami Heat, or maybe did he play for Washington?
he was with the Heat, and he was with the Pistons, wasn't he, at some point as well?
Yeah, he's bounced around a little bit. Obviously, first round pick to follow, and then Gary Harris. He's one of those. He can play very well.
he does against the Lakers.
He can be a very good defender. He can spread the floor. He was knocking down threes from the corner, a great clip last season, but he's just been in and out with injuries all season this year. Just not consistent. And, as we saw from his 0 of 6 shooting in 33 minutes on Saturday, we just need a bit more from him at the moment. But he is a good locker room leader because he's one of the older heads there, him and Joe Ingles. So bringing Joe in was a great move in the summer, although we probably overpaid. But having someone like him, Mo Wagner, Jalen Suggs, players that can get under the skin of opponents. I don't know if you saw the full game on Saturday, but Mo Wagner really riled the Cleveland fans up, and it was just brilliant. It's like having Robbie Savage on your team.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I did see bits of that. Yeah, because it was a nice, obviously UK friendly tip-off time.
I think if we can get a world though, like where Franz Wagner is the third best player on the Magic, we're a very, very good team then. Because he might be the Jaylen Brown to the Tatum of Banchero, where that comparison's been thrown around. But if we end up in a world where we've got somebody either comparable to him or slightly better, the Magic have taken a leap into the top 2 or 3 in the East. But we really need, like G was saying, we really need shooting big time. We really need somebody in our backcourt to put alongside Jalen Suggs who can shoot the ball, and we need an answer at centre. Now, that might be Jonathan Isaac if he's fit. He's been starting at the 5. It might be him, but this season, really, Wendell has not been great when he's been fit. If I'm being conservative in answering that, and there's been games where he plays against your Valanciunas type players, just your big, strong centers. If he's against an Embiid or he's against a Jokic, he tends to raise his game and be physical and give them a hard time. But someone like a Nurkic or a Valanciunas will give Wendell a really hard time. And there's even an argument in those games that Goga Batadze should start over him because when he came in, he did a cracking job for us. So that there are question marks around the centre position and scoring in the backcourt, and they'll be the 2 big areas. But you can't just go out and say, "Oh, like Trae Young's available, we'll take him off Atlanta and give nothing back." Because the real world is they're gonna look at our assets and say, "Well, we'd like Jalen Suggs as part of the deal," and I'm not really willing to give up Jalen Suggs that easily because he's been phenomenal this year.
Like you say, you've got to sacrifice to get something good back. You've got to give something to get something, haven't you? And
that would be a tough trade for me. I'm very mixed on Trae Young, great shooter, but defensively in the playoffs, if Ben Simmons wasn't scared to dunk over him, his career might have been over earlier in Atlanta, but obviously decided not to and ruined Ben Simmons' career instead. I think Suggs has got so much more potential, but you've got all the assets. I said this in the prequel, like you guys did the not tanking, because you didn't actually come out and say it, whereas we did, and then the league got involved. But it doesn't help without being disrespectful, like to some of the other teams, that we are one of the biggest sports. Philadelphia is one of the biggest sports markets in America. They weren't happy with that, but we didn't do it properly. And if we did it properly, we might have been all right. But we kept picking centers. Jahlil Okafor in the 90s would have been great, but we're not in the 90s. Whereas you've tried to, even though it hasn't quite planned that way, you've got that elite shooter like consistently. You've tried to build around that and tried to put the right assets in place. And you got an unhappy player in Gordon. I know the trade you said was mixed, but you still got a first round pick for out of that from it, and obviously you got a solid player in Harris. So, whereas when we've had a disgruntled player like Simmons, we got Harden, but we had to give up first round. It was just like it just didn't. We just seem to have not done very well. So I think we've kind of touched on it, but your front office is definitely everything's there for you guys. I'll be very shocked if we're still doing this podcast. If me and Glenn are still plowing through next year, that we're not thinking that you're a legit contender next year with the right moves that you've just spoke about getting that.
I want us to do this podcast until the point where you can stop telling people I'm new to the NBA.
that was you on the bingo, not me. That's you. I didn't say anything about that.
I had to get in there for you. Yeah, I think it's a good time to be a Magic fan.
Yeah, and if you want to transfer over, mate, you want to just pick the Lakers. You can change early tip-offs and all that.
We discussed,
and you're wearing a Magic jersey as well. You're wearing a
Magic Johnson. Yeah, we discussed football teams beforehand. You must know I'm quite loyal. Even if they are, Sporting Southampton, I can do the tough times. I might have picked a star franchise, but I can do the tough times.
I think we all can.
It's nice to be on a pod where everyone supports their local team.
Yes. Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, there's too many. Yesterday was a prime example, right? Half my wife's family were from Cov, so we were supporting Cov, her stepmom and all that from Coventry. So we were completely rooting, and then I had friends who I lived near texting me going, or moaning about the game. I'm like, that's just typical. Like that's where. And I know we can't talk, but us lot. I mean, Glenn will eventually go out there because I know he will. But so I'm not having a dick. So I'm being nice to you, Glenn. But we've been to Orlando and Philadelphia. We've been to see our team play, and there's fans here in this country that support football teams. They've never been to that team's ground to watch them play. I know it's a little bit easier with the ticket situation with America because they got the resale market, but it's just mad to think that we spend money to go to a couple of games home stretch. That's the same that a fan in Orlando, Philly, LA would pay for a season ticket, or what some fans would pay here to go to 1 or 2 games to watch LA, but they don't. So it's just the dedication that we have as fans for the UK, I think is great, especially when you do go out there and have to spend all that money, because the flight and 1-2 tickets is the same as a season ticket, right? So that we're just as loyal.
My first NBA game could potentially be an Orlando Magic one, because like I said, we're going out in a few years, and if you're still a playoff team, which I am confident you will be, and there's tickets available, I will be spending a bit of money to go to a playoff game. So then Magic might become my second team.
That's okay. You need an Eastern team.
There you go. Yeah, I do need an Eastern team, so it's only right that I pick Orlando.
Good choice to make.
But thanks for being nice, Sam.
Yeah. So anyway, I was going to ask before we move on to the last few bits, but is it one of you two that supports Tampa?
I do. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm a Rays, Lightning, and Buccaneer.
Yeah. Okay. My Super Bowl. No, we don't. No, we don't want to talk about NFC Championship, any playoff games involving Tampa and Philadelphia. To be honest, in the NFL, okay. No, yeah, we'll forget about those games. Indeed, or Magic. Like I said, pretty cool. Like my first series was the peak Dwight Howard. But yeah, we'll move on swiftly. Glenn, I thought our name was great for the podcast, right? But these guys. But I like your podcast name. How did that come about?
So we first started off as Orlando Magic UK. So we kind of started the whole thing in 2016.
How did you come up with that name?
2016, the Magic played the Raptors at the O2, a regular season game, and there was a few of us on Twitter, and we kind of worked out who was from the UK, etc. And we said, right, let's just all meet in a bar at the O2 before the game. So there's a lot more Raptor fans there for some reason at the time. So
Drake's influence.
we got there. We managed to get John Amici, ex Magic and GB basketball player, to come along and say hello to everyone. And we're like, oh, there's a bit of a community going on here. So that's how Orlando Magic UK at first was started. So Mikey and myself started it. Paul and Gary joined thereafter. But during lockdown, we just found ourselves just talking basketball to one another on FaceTime and all that. And we thought we'd just press record and see how this goes. So what are we now? 168 episodes in, Gar?
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I joined a lot later than you guys. I'll add that.
Yeah, so we first started, the podcast was called Penny for Your Thoughts.
Nice.
Oh,
Like
that's
that.
another good one. That's another good
That is
one.
good.
After dear old Penny Hardaway. But then we had a bit of a rebrand just to sort of drop the Orlando Magic part on it, because you don't know what you're allowed to use, etc. So change it to Let's Talk Magic. Obviously, that encompasses the Orlando Magic. It could encompass Disney. Shout out our sponsors, attractiontickets.com. So
I might need to use them at some point.
You should. Click the link.
Click the link. Code.
Discount.
Absolutely. So it's all, it's gone from strength to strength. We've had fantastic guests on. We had the Magic CEO on 2 weeks ago, ex-players, media personality, Kristen Ledlow. Who else have we had on, Gar?
We've had like members of our the UK community on, and we've had big Magic fans from the US. So like Cortez has been on, and we had Hank on as well, who's like a bit of a celebrity. He got like, I think he was approaching 1,600 views on YouTube when we had Hank on that one. That was pretty, because he was just like seen as this figure who everybody knows from Magic home and away games, and then Cortez did some decent numbers as well. He's like,
I follow Cortez on X. I think he's hilarious.
He's my mate.
I would like to be mates with him too, if you could put it in a good way.
When you go to Orlando, he'll take you out for a drink and show you the best places to go.
Nice. I'll have to reach out to him.
He's a quality guy. So like, if I go over to Orlando, I'll like hit Cortez up and say I'm over in these dates, and we'll arrange when we're doing the meetups. But he's just a quality guy, absolute hilarious guy. Really
would he make me turn into a Magic fan if I hang out with him?
It's possible. He gets when the Tito's vodka comes out, anything's on game with their Cortez. Anything could happen. He's known as Tito's Tez, if you speak to him.
But yeah, seeing what you guys are doing, not just for your team, but just for the UK fan community, props to yourselves, to be honest. And me and Sam always talk about how long we're going to do this for, and we sort of get a bit of inspiration from you guys to, the commitment you've given to your end only makes us think, let's just keep it going.
Yeah,
if we're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you early on, your account C-Red, and hence why I've had both you guys on. Even to the extent, even though he's a bit of a troll, but I do think he's a nice guy when I've PM'd him about different things. Bucks, UK Bucks, with his outrageous takes, he's funny with them. But like you three, and then the Suns as well, like with your individual accounts have just grown. Every person we've had on, we've been inspired by what they've done and creating. Like Glenn sharing like how many followers you've got, like the content you're creating, and I think unfortunately some of your stuff's pretty good, and Glenn expects me to be to that standard. And it's quite tough because I've got a MacBook, I've got the iMovie, but I haven't got the Pro Cut Final or Adobe or whatever to really get into nitty gritty. But yeah, you guys definitely are like really good, and like I say, that I like the fun, little simple but great in your title, in your name. Like I just think it's just like it's good. I mean, I like the Penny one, to be fair to you, but yeah, Let's Talk Magic. Like you say, you can manipulate it however you want to kind of make it, like with it being in Orlando and Disney like that. And that's the real reason why Glenn's going to Orlando. It's because his missus is making him go to Disneyland with his kid rather than him going to watch basketball.
I mean, I do love Disney World myself.
The Star Wars wine isn't good.
Good save there, Glenn. Disney World.
So,
You've got to hit Gideon's up, Glenn, if you go.
Oh, what's that? Sorry.
You've got to hit Gideon's cookies up if you go. Like Mikey, who does our pod as well, and like he's really does all the design and editing of it. So like shout out to Mikey. But we do love Gideon's in Disney Springs. It's like a social media influencer thing we found it through, and we were just like,
Oh, really?
This is unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable for the cookies and the cakes. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the problem with going over there. You eat enough for a month in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, have a cheesesteak. That's about 2,000. Unless you go to Gino or Pat's, where all the tourists go, then it'll be fine. But if you go to any legit place, it's like 2,500 calories. It's just in one half of a roll there, split into two, and it's like one for today, one for tomorrow sort of situation. So yeah, I know that feeling.
But what's the future of Let's Talk Magic? Well, what's the next few years looking like?
So last year we had our first sort of UK get together. So we all congregated in Mansfield. It was about 15, 16 of us. So we arranged to go. Those who wanted to, we found the court, an outside court. So we played some ball. We were all staying in the same travel lodge. Went for a few beers, went for a curry, and then a couple of us went to a nightclub afterwards. It was a bit of fun. So it's a really great buying community. Very active on the socials in our little group. So we just want to bring it from strength to strength. There's obviously a lot of us who do go out there. I think there's 2 or 3 out at the moment, Gary, for the playoffs. We're all off and going out. I've just come back from 10 days in February. Where I was lucky to see the Shaq jersey ceremony, and we went 3-1. So we've all got a pretty good record when we watch the Magic. So no, we just want to continue doing what we're doing. We're smashing out the content, getting the guests on, and just keeping it rolling and making it bigger and bigger.
Yeah. I think first of all, there's a lot of people. We've got like a private group chat, and there's people there who are up every game in the middle of the night, no matter what time, watching it, and like shout out to them. And then we've got our members who, for some reason, back us on Patreon, which is just unbelievable. They couldn't hear enough of our rubbish takes. They actually join us on Patreon, which is always appreciated because they're fueling it. And then I think if you're going on pure followers, I do think there's a part of it where it's how good the Magic become, because we've been seen as like a losing franchise for so long. Like, this is the best Paul's ever seen the Magic. So if the Magic had an explosion and became like good, like Milwaukee, for example, nobody supported the Bucks when I got into the NBA. You didn't hear about it. You just would see the occasional Glenn Robinson or Ray Allen jersey kicking about. And that's probably where the Magic have been for a long time. But then now you turn anywhere you go to a sports store to sell NBA jerseys. Giannis is probably one of the ones that they're going to have. And for the Magic to pick up popularity, it'll probably have a knock-on effect on us. So if Banchero becomes like Jason Tatum, where he's taken that leap into being a certain all-star, probably attention on the team's going to follow by just viewership.
I can back you up on that. When I created a Sixers Twitter account in about 2013, 14. There was like hardly anyone. I found a few people, created a Facebook group, kind of left the Twitter one, and then forgot about it, to be honest. And there was like several of us, and then as we got good, it just exploded. Like, more and more Sixers fans come along, and now thankfully someone who's not dyslexic or bipolar, so you can trust him with his tweets. And Ben,
when did you get good?
So when we win games, I've got no comeback to that. To be honest with you,
It's interesting to see who makes the Eastern Conference Finals first, Magic or Sixers.
This is true, but let me finish my thought, Glenn, before you banter me. But yeah, I saw a massive improvement in the interactions and socials and stuff, and it does help. And as long as initially I was one of these fans that was like, they're bandwagoning and stuff, but if I was in Philly, I think that's a fair shout because it is tough. And as you know, G, like if you support the other teams in the area, like especially like if they're close to when they're close together, like you do pick, and like the Flyers in Philadelphia's always been the bottom franchise recently, and it's been like the Phillies and the Sixers fighting it out. And I've kind of flirted between the two. Like tonight they're both starting at the same time. So if you're from Philly, you can argue and go choose your prize. But when you're in the UK, you just got to embrace those fans. And I think you guys come across that you would do that, and that will help grow massively. And I've seen a lot of improvement now, like with some of the content you get with some of the guys, like with the interactions and that. So like, the fact you've got like, what is it, 3,000 odd followers on X?
I think 3,500, yeah, on X.
Yeah, while you're like I'd say you're an okay team now, and you're on the verge of being a great team. Like you're right, you could probably get to 5,000 if you suddenly get a big name. Like you say, the jerseys, Giannis is everywhere, isn't he? I mean, it's Giannis, Curry. You can guarantee you walk into stores with Giannis, Curry, LeBron probably in every store.
Yeah, Durant. Yeah.
Oh yeah, KD.
But,
yeah.
But I don't know why you're worried about your Sixers. I've got your Sixers down to make the conference finals this year.
Yeah, it depends.
Well, I did want to know what your predictions were for the East. So sorry, who have you got coming out the East, G?
Go on, I'll let Gary shoot first.
Go on then.
So I think it's hard to argue against Boston. It's really, I think it'll be a Boston-Denver final, if I'm being brutally honest. Sorry, but I kind of see the Lakers stopping that. I think with our matchup, it's 7 games for me, but I think Cleveland's experience might count against us. I'm interested to see what happens in the Indiana-Milwaukee series because I'm not bought in on where Doc Rivers is now, and if Giannis is the whole series out, I could see that evening out. I could see Indiana maybe pulling off an upset there. I think Philly, New York's going to be a real scrap. And that's, for me, hinges on Joel Embiid's knee. And if Embiid's 85% healthy, I think I would still go towards the better coach and the best player in the series. So for me, I think Nurse is the best coach in the series. 2 good coaches, Rod Tip and Nurse. And if Embiid's fit, I think he's better for the team than Brunson, who I also think is great, is a strong player. So I'm going to go Sixers there. And I can't see Miami stopping Boston. No. So that's how I see it going.
Yeah, a little bit like Gary. I got the Magic, obviously, we've touched upon that before against the Cavs. If the Heat win 1, it'd probably be very lucky. So Celtics will steamroll them. I did have Philadelphia. Obviously, you started off so well in the beginning of that first game, and I was thinking, this is how it should be. And obviously, the Knicks crowd got into it. And Brunson got his very, very physical Knicks team. My head says Philadelphia, and I'd like to see it too. So, and then the last series, yeah, Gary's touched upon it. Milwaukee, you don't know what you're going to get, do you? Especially without Giannis. So that's probably going to go the distance. And, Indiana can play very well. I think, like I said earlier in the show, that they maybe strolled into it a little bit thinking we're going to win, whereas they just need to turn up. But I can see Philly getting to the conference finals against the Celtics.
I would definitely take that. I think the problem, I agree with you boys, like the problem is that all the games are tough. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Knicks beat us in 6 or 7. I wouldn't be surprised if you win or lose in 6 or 7. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pacers or Bucks win in 6 or 7. It's Celtics that have got I'll be very shocked like you guys if they don't win in 4, unless an injury happens, unless Tatum goes down or something like that. And that happened obviously with Golden State that year, when the Raptors had that was Sixers' best chance. And then we got the double doink in the field goal against the Bears.
That's another Sam bingo. He mentions the doink quite a few times.
Yeah, well, we had the double doink in the NFL, and then we thought, we got a bit lucky here in Philadelphia sports when a field goal hit both posts and went in last second, and then the revenge was a couple months later. Kawhi will do the even better and do a quadruple and sink it. And like you say, Nurse is a great coach. So I do feel confident we could do it. But yeah, all the series are so tight. Like in the West, bar the Denver series, I feel like that it's the same. I'm sorry, Glenn, but like the Lakers, if LeBron was a couple of years younger and had some better role players, then I'd agree. But I think Denver can't go in 5, and then all the other ones in the West I can see going 6, 7. Like, it's a good year, I think, for the playoffs. I don't think there's any bad, apart from the number 1 seeds. I don't think there's a bad real playoff matchup, is there? Really, there's all good. They've all got something to play from and believe they can win.
Oh yeah.
And even Glenn does, even though he knows Lakers won't. But Glenn's still adamant they might win. And
Yeah,
and I'm quite
without going
happy.
into Lakers too much, obviously, there's out of the West, I don't think there's any team stopping Denver. And on the East, I think Gary said it, perfectly. It's going to be Celtics and Nuggets. The finals in my eyes, I can't see past it. I think there will be some close series, but I just think those two are going to come out on top, and maybe then Denver win it due to experience and having Jokic, and Celtics fall again. But yeah, unfortunately, I think the East is pretty sewn up. I don't know if you've seen Sam as well, but Maxey looks questionable tonight.
I did. I follow a guy whose surname we dislike because of the links, similar name to the football team. But yeah, Keith Pompey, or Pompey as we call it,
Pompey.
did say he was questionable. So that I didn't like a lot, and I thought it was a parody account, and then realised it was a legit one. Yeah, no, it sounds promising. Hopefully, it's just a bit of man flu, and it'll be all right.
It's almost like Sam. I do feel like sometimes when it rains, it pours with. So you just never get that, luck and health for the year, and there's always something in the way.
It's for tanking intentionally and making it known. We should have kept it quiet like Magic and OKC and just slowly did it, without making it obvious, by trading your best players every 6 months for continuously like repeating the cycle. But Hinkie died for our sins, and hopefully we get a championship out of it, but we'll see. But I don't think so. I honestly, realistically, I think Magic and Knicks are on the up, and the Sixers are on the down. So I think they're going to overtake us and become the second of the best teams in the NBA within the next couple of years. Unless Embiid gets a new knee, and then we'll be all right. Because Maxey's going to be one of the best players, but yeah, we've got no one. I mean, Harris. If you're going to put a forward on Banchero, I can't even say his name, Paulo. Harris ain't going to do it. Harris thinks he can guard small forwards, but he can't, or whatever. So we've got no chance. No chance.
We like Tobias Harris. He was obviously ex-Magic.
He was right for you. He was good for you. Yeah, but his dad just pulled our pants down.
Yeah, I think you just overpaid him, didn't you?
Yeah, his dad pulled our pants down massively on that one. So yeah, he gets paid more than Embiid. So
wow,
that was unbelievable. That was like him or Jimmy Butler, really, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. What's the famous words from Jimmy Butler?
It's not true though. It's not true. I know because of, obviously, as you guys know, when you get to speak to people inside the organisation, it was because Ben Simmons didn't like how Jimmy Butler called him out. So it was like, who do you want to pay for, Harris or Butler? And Ben Simmons and Brett Brown didn't want to, because he called Brett Brown out in a video session, and Ben didn't like it that Butler would want to handle the ball sometimes, whereas Harris is quite happy to stand there, shoot threes, and missed them for us, but made them when he was at Orlando. So we thought that was a great deal, and then
Well, it worked out really well for back in Ben Simmons.
Yeah, definitely did. Best, I brought into the hype there. I brought a Ben Simmons jersey. I'm not gonna lie. So, but we all make mistakes, G's done it with faults. So,
hero.
Right, gentlemen. As usual, we finish on X and O's with the podcast, and obviously it's a Magic special. I've got 4 for you this week. And I'm going to start with a nice easy one. Stuff the Dragon is the MVM, most valuable mascot, in the league.
Yeah, that's a definite O. That's as in yes. Have you seen him? You need to see him live. The stuff he does is absolutely phenomenal. I know you get Bulls fan goes, oh, Benji the Bull or whatever he's called is really good.
Available.
Yeah, Benny the Bull, whatever. Yeah, no one touches stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason I put
the
it in there,
best.
because I'm a big fan of stuff. God, I'm like a closet Magic fan.
Yeah.
You are.
Christ.
By the time we log off tonight, you're staying up
Glenn's
to watch the Magic and the Cavs.
Yeah, booking flights to Orlando.
Who in Luton will have some new jerseys that have been sold overnight, and maybe Mark from the throwback store from
Yeah, I'll get
from
a
Glen.
Shaq ones. I'll get a Shaq one, so it's kind of Lakers, but kind of not.
They're out there.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And for you, Gary, is that an X or an O?
Yeah, it's hard to overlook your own mascot, I think, when it's a good one. So yeah, I'm an O.
At least we haven't got a silly leprechaun, eh? He's the worst.
Don't stand on the leprechaun, G. It's disrespectful.
Yeah, don't. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. I actually agree with you as well. I do like your mascot. I think I'll be biased and say that Philadelphia Phillies has got the best mascot in all of American sports, but I think basketball-wise, I won't lie though, I do like Benny as well, but I think it is.
I think Benny's number two. Benny's number two.
Yeah, he's only funny because of that, like that main clip that gets quite viral of that guy that pretends to be like, was it a Rockets fan or something? Or, no, it was a Celtics fan, wasn't it? And like ignores his misses, and then Benny like tips.
Is he on the phone? Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, like that's made him funny, and obviously because of the links to MJ and the Bulls. But no, I agree. I like your mascot. He's funny because obviously we get to see it on League Pass, don't we? Like the halftime shows and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know if he was there.
Obviously the real star of the slam dunk contest.
Over Aaron Gordon.
I mean, I will say Aaron should have won.
Yes.
Yeah, I think most people will agree with that.
He should have won one.
Yeah,
he should have won one.
Other than Dwayne Wade. But we won't go there.
Right, next one. Paulo Banchero will be an all-star starter by 2027.
That's a good one. Go on, Guy. You go first, mate.
Oh, thanks for that, mate.
Hospital pass.
I'm trying to think who's. I think Tatum's going to be around for a while in terms of competition. So he would theoretically be up against who?
Embiid. Front court.
In a few years' time.
Yeah.
It's Giannis, Embiid, Paulo. I don't think Giannis will stick around at the Bucks, so I'm going to go with an O.
Ooh,
I don't think Giannis.
And I'll be very happy if Embiid's still playing in 2027.
Yeah.
I'm going to say O.
Yeah, based upon that, I can't think of anybody else who's in that sort of stratosphere. Scotty
Barnes, G?
Oh, absolutely not.
You've definitely debated him.
I think Scotty Barnes has a lot of potential, but I think
he's good. But you need to listen to the Raptor fans, don't you, Gary?
Yeah, when it looked as though because it became like a thing, didn't it, where he'd got Scotty's place or something? Would that be right, Jay? On the because Barnes got in like basically because there was an injury, I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because it Durant. No, it wasn't Durant. It was someone pulled out because of an injury, and Scotty Barnes came in. But when he wasn't originally there, it was pitchfork territory.
Well, it's Embiid and someone else dropped out, didn't they?
Yeah, there was two who went. I can't remember who it was, but he got an all-star spot off that. But there's become this weird rivalry on socials between Magic and Raptors, which I don't understand because I like Scotty Barnes as a player. But I think as it stands right now, and you were looking at the front court spots, you're looking at Embiid's knee. How's it going to hold up? You're going to look whether Giannis is going to stick around. And then after that, I think Tatum's an absolute shoo-in. But who else is it going to be? Like outside shot, Brandon Miller. If he keeps taking leaps in his game, is he at Paulo's level? I don't think so, but I think he's very good.
No, and I think being at the Hornets automatically hurts your chances as well.
Yeah. Pascal's going to be a couple of years older. Siakam in Indiana's going to be a couple of years on. No, I think Paulo's got a good shot. Jimmy Butler will be probably done by then.
Oh, don't forget about
yeah.
OG. According to the Knicks fans, he's the best small forward in the world, apparently, because when he plays, they win more than they lose, as I found out on socials over the last.
Well, that is true. They do win more than they lose when he is.
Oh yeah, but they make out like he's
Okay.
like I say, he's the best small forward since like bloody.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
Knicks fans. They're on a different world. They're still chanting "fuck Trey Young," and that happened how many years ago?
Yeah,
But then Jonathan Isaac stays healthy for every game. He's defensive player of the year. Like that's another one of those what ifs, isn't it? You know. So yeah, I don't think OG's been battling injuries too long. It would take a lot. I'm going to go with that all.
Yeah, I'm not going to just repeat what Gary said. So yeah,
Nice. We can get to the next one, which is on the same sort of trail. Orlando Magic will make the Eastern Conference Finals by that same year.
definite O.
Very confident.
Yeah. We should do. I mean, you're fifth this year. Like we said, we've overachieved. Why should we go backwards? They should, try and sort out the issues after this season. We've got the most amount of cap space this off season. We've got multiple draft picks over the next week. I don't think we've traded any of our draft picks away. Have we? We've got Denver's next year. I think we've got a swap in there somewhere if we want to, and potentially another one. Can't remember off the top of my head now. But the GMs, have done a superb job in constructing this team, putting the players in a position we need to be. Obviously, we're going to have a couple of tough off seasons where we're going to have to start paying people like Paulo and Franz and Jalen. So now's the time to get people in and then sort of retain your stars. So yeah, I can't see why not for me.
If we're smart, you would think we're a top 3 seed in the East by that point. So you would think if you're a top 3 seed enough times, at some point you're going to make at least a conference final. So again, it's a probable or, but I will say that I think with a healthy Jonathan Isaac, it changes a lot for us.
Yeah, based on health. I think that's how you got to answer these questions, right? Because I was in the same position as you guys like 5 years ago, and literally just a bit of health here and there. I think that I still think in a couple of years' time, I reckon it'd be a OKC Magic final. There's no reason why you guys can't do it because you've done the rebuild the right way.
Yeah, it's funny to say that, Sam, because I had it in my head that those OKC are like the Western version of Magic, the way they're building their team, which is ironic given that that draft year was between Chet and Paulo. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a Magic OKC finals.
I think OKC got the advantage when they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander back to start their rebuild with him, and then they had Chris Paul mentoring them, which I think was huge. I think that was absolutely words that kind of probably be spoken about how much that probably did for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to have that mentoring from Chris Paul. But I think the Magic are putting assets together. I'm of the opinion that Paulo Banchero is the only player on the team who's safe from being traded. I think he's the only one, because I would be very interested to see what would happen. I know, we kind of alluded to this on WhatsApp last night and within our group and stuff, but if the Mavs don't kick on, and you were saying who you're going to cash your chips in to put alongside Paulo, I think number 77 there is probably the man who a lot of Magic fans would plump at.
And you got to think Jamal Mosely used to be an assistant on the Dallas Mavericks, and they've got a very good relationship.
So
apparently,
that would be the big game changer if it was one of those superstar forces themselves somewhere. Well, maybe Luca would like Disney.
That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good.
Has he got any kids?
We can. Well, we never know with NBA players, do you?
You don't. No. Yeah, Zion might be at Orlando soon.
I tell you, which NBA players do like Disney? The Lopez brothers.
They do. Yes.
Absolutely love it.
Don't they live on, on site? We've got a house on one of the resorts.
I think Robin had one definitely. I don't know about Brooke because obviously Robin signed for a season, and he was often seen there. Yeah,
Steph's got a house in Orlando as well, hasn't he? Steph Curry.
Bloody
Well,
hell.
I don't think. I think it'll be a lifer at Golden State, but Clay Thompson might be up for grabs.
At a heavily
Yeah.
discounted rate after his Audi performance.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we take him. You know, you're going to get a defense. You know, match up against the Magic. They're not going to leave Clay Thompson open in the corner,
No,
no matter what, just because of his reputation.
he's that spacing you want, really. You know, proven winner, veteran that you probably need to add to the roster. Yeah, it just depends what you know have to sacrifice in return. But is he out of contract this season anyway?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's apparently kicking around free agency, but I think there's a limit on what you play for Clay Thompson now. What he wants is probably not what he's going to get offered, and I think we've seen a glimpse as to why.
Yeah, he has fallen off a bit. The last one I added during our pre-call, so not even Sam knows this one. Magic would have won it all if Shaq stayed.
Oh, Shaq and Penny memories coming back.
Gosh, yeah.
Penny, for your thoughts?
Definite. Oh, he left.
Yeah.
He bolted too soon.
I think he even admit that he said if he stayed.
Yeah, he's come on record since, and he wish he hadn't left. And you know, Penny was what Kobe was. You know, thereafter.
Yeah.
So we had that. We had the team in place: Dennis Scott, Nick Anderson, Horace Grant, the likes.
Darrell Armstrong was coming through as well at that time.
Yeah, DA was coming through. So we had the team there. We had a decent coach in Brian Hill. Thereafter, we had Chuck Daly.
I think that's who would have won it.
So, what if?
Yeah. I think that's the big what if. But I think I like Brian Hill. All Magic fans will always like Brian Hill. But I think if you look at that timeline and look at what Horace Grant went on to do with the Lakers, as long as Penny stayed, he didn't get the injuries, which he got, and then you think Dennis Scott was perfect for that team when Shaq was there. He made Dennis Scott, in my opinion. Nick Anderson was a very good two guard at that time period. You had Darrell Armstrong was coming through. He would break through in a couple of years, and then Chuck Daly was on the coaching radar. You just think with a couple of other acquisitions, the Magic would have been superb. I think after Jordan, if Chuck Daly clicked in as the coach, I think we would have gotten one.
Yeah.
Only team to beat Michael Jordan on the Bulls.
Yeah.
After the run started, yeah.
After the run started.
But yeah, I think it's very difficult to win it all, and a lot of things have to line up for it to happen. It's fine balance between getting to the top and not.
Yeah.
But maybe
one day we'll get there.
Maybe in a different universe he stayed.
I'd have had a better holiday that year if he'd stayed.
Yes, he would have. Yeah, he would have. Gents, thanks for your time. Before we go, please remind us where we can find you on socials.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a website, and that's letstalkmagic.com. That's got links to podcast, affiliate link codes, news stories that Paul puts up. And then we're on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, all at _ Let's Talk Magic, and then also the YouTube channel. So anyone who subscribes, we greatly appreciate that.
Excellent stuff.
Well, Glenn,
thank you very much.
Do you want to do the outro? Would you like to roll us off with your
yes,
favourite?
As usual, yeah, please like, listen and share and engage with us on X, where we'll put this out at With the English One. Why is the number one there, Sam?
Because we are the only podcast called With the English.
How to put English on the basketball.